You're watching the chapter number 3 of the Blender Materials Textures and Nodes course, Understanding the Volume Shaders. In today's chapter, we'll understand about all these topics related to the volume shaders in detail, and after that, we'll also understand about their practical usage in the retro gaming arcade scene that we are creating in this course. And yes, if you are someone who is new to this course, then you can watch the first 2 chapters of this course by using the link given in the description of this video. So I've opened this file where we understand about the different type of shaders and even create our own materials. And now the first topic for this chapter is understanding about the volume scatter node. But before that, let's also delete the translucent BSDF and the principal BSDF nodes in the shader editor. So with both of them selected, press X, now press Shift plus A, then go to shader and we'll select the volume scatter node. Let's place it over here, and before explaining about this node, I should also tell you that all the 3 nodes that we'll discuss in this chapter are related to volumes, and therefore you won't be using them a lot in Blender. Now coming back to the topic of volume scatter, this node allows us to create a material that allows the light to be scattered as it passes through the volume. To understand this practically, we have to connect the volume socket in the volume scatter node to the volume socket in the material output. However, if by mistake you connect the volume socket of the volume scatter to the surface in the material output, then in this case you won't notice any difference and you will get a black material. Now to remove this connection that we have created between the volume socket and the surface socket, hold down the control button, then right click and drag your cursor like this. Now I'll take the volume socket and connect it to the volume in the material output. By doing this, you will notice a few changes in the material which is applied to this UV sphere. As the name suggests, it's create a volumetric material just like fog or smoke, and by using the color option, you can control the color of the fog or the smoke. In fact, you also have the option to control the density of this volume. So if I increase it, the density of volume will increase, but you will notice that the color of the volume will also change. And this is because the volume scatter node will scatter the light as it passes through it. As a result, its color will also depend on the lights that we are having in the scene. For example, if I select this light on the top which is red colored and press X to delete it, then you will notice a slight difference in the color of this volume. For now, I'll reduce the density value to around 1.5 or maybe 1 in order to get a blue colored fog or smoke. Now moving ahead, just like the volume scatter node, we have another node which is called the volume absorption node. To add it here, press Shift plus A, then go to shader and select the volume absorption. Let's place it over here, connect the volume socket to the volume in the material output, and you will notice that the material is now looking completely transparent. As the name suggests, this particular node allows the light to be absorbed, which is in contrast to the volume scatter node which used to scatter or bounce off the light falling on it. Now in order to use it to create some volume, you can go to the color option, and if I set any particular color, then you will notice that particular color being applied to the volume. Similarly, you can also control the density from here. If I reduce it, the density of volume will reduce, and if I begin to increase it, the density of the volume will increase. For now, let's keep it to 1, and this is how it looks. So you can use both of these nodes to create some volume like smoke or fog depending upon your scene. But again, as I told you before, both of these nodes are very rarely used in Blender. And another reason why we don't use both of these nodes so often is that we have another node which can perform the function of both of these nodes together along with some additional settings. And this particular node is the principal volume node. So to add it here in the shader editor, press Shift plus A, then go to shader and select the principal volume. Let's place it over here. Also, I'll select the volume absorption and the volume scatter nodes and press X to delete. Now in the principal volume node, I'll take this volume socket and connect it to the volume of the material output node. Now over here, you can see that the material of this UV sphere is now changed to a smoke-like or fog-like material. However, to understand about the principal volume node in even more detail, we should use a complex model in our scene. So first of all, with the UV sphere selected, press H to hide. Let's also hide this plane which we added at the back. Now press Shift plus A, then go to Mesh, and for a complex object, we'll choose the monkey object. So I'll select it from here. Let's move it up in the Z axis, and to give it a natural appearance, press Ctrl plus 2 in order to apply the subdivision surface modifier to it. After this, go to the shader editor, and to apply the same material that we used on the hidden sphere with the principal volume node, you can select the sphere in the scene collection. Then in the shader editor, you can see the name of this material, then select the Suzanne model. Click here to see the list of materials in this Blender file. Now select that particular material, and then it will get applied to the monkey object. Now the effect of the principal volume material on this monkey object is much more clear. Now in this node, the most important setting is the density value, and as the name suggests, it controls the density of these smoke particles or the volume particles which are kind of forming the shape of the monkey in the scene. So higher the density, more will be the volume particles, and as a result, it will look less volumetric and more solid. But if I reduce the density value, to somewhere around 5 or 6, then in that case, the material of the object actually looks like volume because of the low density. Then over here, you have the color option, and as the name suggests, this can be used to control the color of the volume material. If I set the color to green, then the color of this material with the volume will change to the green color. Now I just explain you the meaning of this color feature in the principal volume node in general terms. However, in terms of volume and lighting, its meaning can be a little complex to understand, because this color option basically means the color of the light which will be scattered by the volume, and whatever color of the light the volume will scatter, you will begin to see that particular color on this volumetric material. This color option is very similar to the color option in the volume scatter node. We understood about this node a few minutes ago, and you can see that all these controls that you have in the volume scatter node are also available in the principal volume node. You can control the scattering color with the color option here. Then for the density, you have the density value here, and similarly for the anisotropy, you have the anisotropy value here. For now, I'll delete the volume scatter node, and now if I add the volume absorption node by going to the add menu, and let's place it over here, then in this node also we have the option to control the color of the light which will be absorbed by the volume. And just like this, in the principal volume node also we have this option of controlling the absorption color. If you want to see the full name, you can expand this node from here by left clicking and dragging it like this, and now from this option you can control the absorption color. So to see how it works, let's first change the scattering color to black, and now in the absorption color, let's increase the brightness, and I'll change this to the red color. And now what's happening is that this volumetric material is absorbing all the red color from the light. And for those of you who don't know, the color which is absorbed by an object's material is not visible in the reflected light. Because of the absorption color set as the red color, the material of this object is absorbing all the red color from the light. As a result, in this middle area, you will notice that the color is very dark or maybe black, and in these outer or the side areas, you will notice some red color because these are the thinner areas which allow the light to go through or pass through them. But yes, as I already told you before, this concept of light absorption and scattering might be a bit difficult for some of you to understand. So in that case, I would suggest you not to get confused, because in most cases, you will use this first color option, which is for the scattering color, because this will help you define the color of the volume material. Now, one important use of this absorption color is to create some colored glass effects. To understand about this in more detail, we'll be using a node which is called the glass BSDF node. Till now in this course, we have not studied about it, but we'll learn about it in the upcoming chapters of this course. But for now, while being in the shader editor, press Shift plus A, then go to shader and select the glass BSDF. Let's place it over here, and in short, you can use this node to create some glass-like materials. So if I take the BSDF socket in the glass BSDF node and connect it to the surface socket in the material output node, then here you can see that we are getting a beautiful colored glass effect that we created by using the absorption color. If you want, you can change the colors from here to give it a different look. Also, you can control the density of this volumetric color by using the density value here. If I increase it, the color will get more and more dark, and if I reduce it, the color will begin to get lighter. In fact, if I reduce it to the minimum value of 0, then in that case, the green color will hardly be visible on this object's material. So for now, I'll set the density value to 5. Let's also right click and apply Shade Auto Smooth, and in the absorption color, I'll change this to the red color. Also, I'll be saving this particular material that we created with the principal volume and the glass BSDF node in the material library. So to do this thing, let's first rename this material to red glass and then press enter to confirm. Now to save this material, go to the scene collection, then click here. After this, click over here, select the red glass material, then right click and click on mark as asset. Now to check if this material is saved in the material library or not, click on this icon, and let's change this window from the shader editor to the asset browser. Click on the refresh button, and now we have this red glass material added in the library. We'll move ahead and understand about the rest of the functions in the principal volume node. So for this, I'll change this window back to the shader editor, and let's also create a new material. So click on the cross icon, then click on the new button, select the principal BSDF node, press X to delete, and now let's add the principal volume node. Let's place it over here, connect the volume socket to the volume in the material output node, and in the density, I'll enter a value equal to 10. Now we have some more options like the emission strength, emission color, and as the name suggests, it is used to create an emission or a glowing effect on the volume material. Then by using the emission color, you can set any particular color for the emission or the glow. And one more way by which you can control the glow or the emission is to use the black body intensity and the temperature values. So to understand about them, I'll reduce the emission strength down to 0, and in the black body intensity, if I left click here and type 1000, then you will notice that the color and the emission strength for this material has now changed. Also, if I begin to reduce this value of the black body intensity to somewhere around 200 or 300, then now we are getting a much more realistic look of the black body effect. Similarly, by using the temperature value also, I can define the temperature temperature in Kelvin for the blackbody emission. Higher the value of temperature, more will be the emission, and lower the temperature, lesser will be the emission. And yes, mostly you will be using the blackbody intensity and the temperature settings while creating the material for fire, because in that case you will need an orange colored emission which can be achieved by using different values in the blackbody intensity and the temperature. And with this, we have now understood about the 3 volume shaders available in Blender. The first was the volume absorption node, the second was the volume scatter node, and the third and the most important was the principal volume node. And in this node also, the 2 main functions are the color and the density option. And so now it's the time to use these concepts of the volume shaders in the retro gaming arcade scene that we started creating in the chapter number 1. So I've opened this file where we created this arcade machine along with some basic materials in the last 2 chapters of this course. And in today's chapter, we'll create some text to be added on the wall that will be behind this arcade gaming machine. And for that specific text, we'll use a material with the volume shaders. So to do this thing, let's first come back to the solid mode, select the plane, let's also go to the front or the side view, and I'll move it in the x-axis in such a way that the ends of the plane are close to the arcade gaming machine. Now press tab to enter the edit mode, press 2 for the edge select mode, select this edge and we'll extrude it up in the z-axis. Then left click to finalize, let's change the angle, and on this particular face, we'll create a text with the principal volume material. But before that, let's increase the length of this face slightly more in the z-axis. So with the edge selected, let's move it up in the z-axis like this. Also, press A to select all, and let's also scale it up in the y-axis. Then left click, return back to the object mode, and now to add some text on this wall, let's first place our 3D cursor over here. So with the shift key holded, if I right click anywhere, then the position of the 3D cursor will get changed to that particular point. Now to add the text, press shift plus A, then select text, let's change the angle, and first of all, we'll rotate it in the x-axis by 90 degrees. After this, let's also rotate it in the z-axis by 90 degrees. And now to edit the text, press tab to enter the edit mode. Let's also enable the wireframe display. Now press backspace to remove the default text, and now I'll type retro, then for next line, press enter, gaming, then again press enter and type arcade. After this, press tab again to return back to the object mode. Let's also enable the solid mode by clicking here, and now to change the way how the text is looking, like its font, the alignment, its size, we have to open the object data properties by clicking on this icon. So first of all, in the paragraph alignment, go to the horizontal option and change this to center. This will make the horizontal alignment of the text as per center. After this, click on font, and first of all, let's increase its size to something like 1.2, and to set a particular font, simply click on this folder icon. Then this menu will appear where you will find a variety of different fonts, and from all these, you have to select a particular font which according to you will look the best for the text object. For example, if I select this particular font and click on open font, then it will get applied to the text in the scene. Now moving ahead, let's also give some thickness to the text with the help of extrusion. So for this, in the object data properties, go to geometry and increase the value of extrude. So let's keep it to somewhere around 0.1 or 0.12. Let's also increase the size by going to font and transform, and I'll keep it to somewhere around 1.8 or 1.9, and let's also move it up in the z-axis. After this, if you want to give a more realistic appearance to the text, then in the geometry, you also have an option to control the bevel. In this option, if I increase the depth, then the bevel effect will increase, giving the text a realistic appearance. Then if you want to increase the space between the characters, then for this, scroll down, and in the paragraph, you have the option to control character spacing, word spacing, and line spacing. So in the character spacing option, let's increase this value to somewhere around 1.1 or 1.15, which will help us to increase the spacing between different characters. Also, if you wish, you can try to change the values of the bevel depth or maybe the extrusion as per the text in your scene. And after all this, we'll now create a volumetric material for the text. So go to the render preview mode, and to create the material, let's go to the material properties, click on the new button, select the principal BSDF node, press X to delete. Now press shift plus A, then go to shader and select the principal volume node. Let's place it over here, connect the volume socket to the volume in the material output node. Then we'll increase the density value to something like 50 or 60, and in the color, let's change this to the red color. Let's also increase the brightness from here, and right now, after applying the material, it looks like the text font is not perfect. So to solve this problem, let's go to the font, and to change it, click on the folder icon again. Then from this folder, we'll select some other font that will actually look good according to the volume shader, the amount of bevel, and the extrude value. Also, I'll reduce the character spacing back to 1 for the new font. So try to play around these values in the text object, try searching for different fonts for the text in your scene. After all this, you can go to the shader editor and change the density value to see the change in the volumetric material. Similarly, also try to change the color of the material in the principal volume node. But for now, I have selected the red color and the density value set at 50. After this, I'll also adjust the bevel depth and we'll keep it to somewhere around 0.07 or 0.08, and now it looks perfect. So in today's chapter, we learned about the volume shaders and even used them to create a very basic material for the text that we added in the scene. And yes, if you want to download the final Blender file with the complete retro gaming arcade scene, then you can join the Patreon of this channel by using the link given in the pinned comment. And so our next chapter will be the chapter number 4, working with emission. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press that notification bell so that you can get timely updates about the upcoming chapters. Thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next one.